The Civil War was a war fought between the North and the South of the United States over slavery and its role in the expansion of the country. Originally, the country had decided on a number of compromises. A compromise is defined as an agreement or settlement of a dispute that is reached by each side making concessions. There were several compromises leading up to the Civil War. The Missouri Compromise, which set a precedent for allowing one slave state to be matched by one free state to enter the Union, as well as an imaginary line that would set a border for where the slave states could be formed and where Union states would be allowed into the country. The result of the Missouri Compromise was that Missouri would come in as a slave state while Maryland would come in as a free state. The Missouri Compromise was needed because as the nation grew, more territories opened up to the west. The slave states and free states were arguing over whether or not slavery would be expanded from its current position in the South, resulting in further sectionalism among the Northerners and Southerners. Sectionalism is defined as a loyalty to one's region or area. As time went on, however, and the United States acquired more territory, the slave question came up again, and a bitter dispute over land gained from the Mexican-American War. The new compromise would end up further angering those on both sides of the slave issue. The new compromise of 1850 allowed for California to come in as a free state, and the New Mexico territories would be allowed to be slave if they wanted. In return, the slave states gained a much stronger Fugitive Slave Act. This was a law that made the Northerners help Southerners capture slaves that had escaped into northern states and territories. This worked for a short time until the Nebraska Territory applied for membership to become a state. Since it was above the imaginary line created by the Missouri Compromise, it was by law that it would have to be a free state. Not only that, but the territory was so large it was broken into two territories, Nebraska and Kansas. Because of the Missouri Compromise, there really should have been no question about whether or not the new territories would be free or not. But the southern states were finally fed up and demanding that Kansas become a slave state. A new compromise was enacted, the Kansas-Nebraska Act. This act repealed the Missouri Compromise. Repeal is defined as a strategy lawmakers use to get rid of a law they had previously passed. By repealing the Missouri Compromise, territories were now allowed to be admitted to the Union above the demarcation line previously established by the Missouri Compromise. The Kansas-Nebraska Act allowed for popular sovereignty. This means that each state or territory would on its own decide if they would be free or slave before entering the Union. With tensions about the expansion of slavery rising on both sides, the election of 1860 was what everyone was looking forward to as the answer to the nation's problems. Southerners had their candidates and the Northerners had theirs. The Southerners were really pinning their hopes on the 1860 election to win the presidency and get more favorable laws towards slavery. When they lost, they immediately began talking about seceding. South Carolina was the first state in the nation to secede and plunge the nation into the Civil War. Secede is defined as to withdraw formally from membership in a federal union, an alliance, or political or religious organization. When South Carolina seceded from the Union, they effectively separated themselves from the United States and decided to form their own country. This was the beginning of the Civil War.